Coverage begins July 14th.
President Carter is in Japan this evening and held his first formal meeting with Premier Hua of China. There have been apparent murders committed in both Orange and Brevard counties, and in Seminole County, yet another body has been found. And in Orange City, WESH-TV's brand new 1,740-foot transmitting tower began transmitting this evening. Details on these stories and more coming up next from NewsCenter-2.
Sometimes crossing a frontier simply takes a little more vision. In the 30s, when visible signs of oil got scarce, men working for a company that will become known as Chevron listened through seismic ears and got clues from underground. Today, we're listening through thousands of underwater ears, an innovation helping Chevron search for oil that's deeper and tougher to find. But ingenuity can find it. Chevron was born on the frontier, and we've never left it.
Where can you buy a can of tuna for only 9 cents? At Winn-Dixie with Super Dividend Specials.
Clip the Super Dividend coupons in the food section of your newspaper. And a 6.5-ounce can of Blue Bay Chunk Light Tuna is 9 cents.
Buy a jumbo roll of lilac paper towels for 9 cents.
Or a 16-ounce can of Winn-Dixie's Thrifty Made Peas for a penny.
Clip the Super Dividend coupons from your newspaper and save with Super Dividends at Winn-Dixie.
A few years ago, she could barely walk, and that's when she touched her first starfish. Our next visit to SeaWorld was run and squeal time, and her first dolphin. The year after that, the whole world was one big why. Every new face was another question to be answered. We've watched her grow right along with SeaWorld, each time adding other precious memories. I wouldn't miss them for all the world.
Don't let them grow up without SeaWorld.
The Tonight Show follows NewsCenter-2 next on the news station.
Good evening from NewsCenter-2. I'm Wayne Bennett.
I'm Scott Harris. The body of a man believed to be in his 30s or 40s was found in northwest Seminole County this evening. The body of the unidentified white male was discovered by residents in a secluded area off a dirt road near Sylvan Lake. Officials say it appears to have been there from 5 to 7 days. No cause of death has been immediately determined, but authorities say they suspect foul play because blood was found on clothes near the body. An autopsy will be performed tomorrow morning. Orange County authorities are investigating what appears to be the murder of an unidentified man whose body was found in a ditch along Dean Road this morning. The Sheriff's Department spokesman says the victim suffered injuries on the upper part of his body, but it's not clear what weapon may have been used. The victim's described as a white male, about 5 feet 10 inches tall, 185 pounds, wearing blue jeans and a blue T-shirt. In Brevard County today, 18-year-old John Brotherton of Cocoa was charged with the murder of a 79-year-old woman. Police say Brotherton was arrested inside the West Cocoa home of Rebecca Little. She was stabbed to death as she slept early this morning. Brotherton's being held without bond in the Brevard County Jail. For the second night in a row, firemen were called out in Seminole County tonight to a fire at a local dump just off State Road 436. That call came in around 7:30. Firemen from Longwood, Altamont Springs, and the Seminole Fire Department worked much of the evening to keep the flames from spreading. So far, officials aren't sure what caused the fire or if it was related to last night's blaze at the same location. No property damage occurred. No injuries were reported.
A U.S. Army Corps of Engineers dredge boat rammed Jacksonville's Main Street Bridge today. The boat was apparently caught in a strong current and rattled the bridge, but left it intact. There were no injuries to motorists traveling over the St. Johns River or to the 10 to 15 crew members aboard the Davison. Police said the accident shook the bridge and chipped some concrete off piling. The bridge was closed immediately for a safety check. The Blue Fire, a rusty red and blue freighter limped into the port of Miami in a light rain today, followed by the Coast Guard cutter that seized it in the Yucatan Channel as it tried to sneak away from Cuba. The ship, which was rumored to be loading thousands of Cubans last week, arrived empty. Coast Guard and immigration officials detained the Blue Fire's 7-member crew and said they will face charges from their trip to Cuba. The chairman of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights today said public hearings and an investigation will be held in Miami to determine the state of civil rights in the city. Chairman Arthur Fleming told a news conference that hearings will also be held in Washington to find out what the government plans to do about the problems that caused the Miami riots in May. In Miami, NBC's Ike Seaman reports on local black reaction.
Long before the Miami riots, blacks were charging that the criminal justice system and the police discriminated against them. It was no accident that the first targets of the rioters were a police headquarters and the county justice building. A recent Miami Herald poll of blacks reported overwhelming dissatisfaction with police. Police officer Don White, who grew up in the Liberty City section, agrees with the Civil Rights Commission.
When an officer blatantly goes out of his way to cripple, maim, or hurt someone, or violate their civil right, then this makes the rest of us look bad.
Robert Dempsey, the assistant director of the county police, says more laws are not needed.
The problem that we have is to make good cases and gather good evidence. And if we can do that, this present existing system is adequate.
Last night, Miami Police Chief Kenneth Harms told a special governor's commission looking into the causes of the riots that sensationalized news coverage of controversial stories involving blacks and police set the stage emotionally for the disturbances.
Are you suggesting, and don't let me put words in your mouth, the media had anything to do with causing the riots?
I most certainly am. It's a professional judgment, and it's a personal judgment.
Nevertheless, this panel backs the Civil Rights Commission's proposals and plans to announce its own recommendations in the fall. Ike Siemens, NBC News, Miami.
President Carter's in Japan. He attended a memorial service for the late Japanese Prime Minister Ohira, and tonight met with the Premier of China in Tokyo. That story and more when we continue from NewsCenter-2.
How can you see Shamu, the killer whale in action, dancing dolphins, and save money? Get a free discount coupon to SeaWorld at Burger King. It gets you $2 off each adult admission and $1.50 off every child's. See the exciting new shark encounter. See sea lions, sea otters, see it all at SeaWorld with a free discount coupon from Burger King.
Make it special, make it Burger King.
Why buy a machine that does only one job, like a mulching mower? I recommend Snapper. You get all the advantages of a standard mower, and with this inexpensive mulcherizer, you can chew up cuttings so fine they become lawn food. When grass is too tall or moist for mulching, remove the mulcherizer and use your Snapper in a conventional way. Before you buy a mower, compare the versatility, quality, and performance of a Snapper.
Any way you cut it, it's a snap with Snapper.
Just buy your Rabbit from your local Volkswagen dealer?
That's right.
Bet it really cost a fortune.
Nah, it's a terrific investment.
Investment?
Sure, some cars cost less than Rabbits, but you usually pay for it in the end. It's great mileage and dependability give it some resale value. Volkswagen's really a terrific way to fight inflation.
Volkswagen can drive up your net worth. Most people don't think about that when they buy a car.
They do when they sell one.
Drive up your net worth in a Rabbit from Volkswagen.
President Carter today attended the memorial service for Japan's late Prime Minister Ohira, met with Ohira's successor, and tonight held his first formal meeting with the Premier of China. We have this late report from Jim Upshaw in Tokyo.
For President Carter, this was a very brief visit to Japan, and in its early hours, he tried to keep attention focused on the central event, the funeral of Prime Minister Masayoshi Ohira. Carter spoke of Ohira as a friend heading a friendly nation. Carter said he wanted to pay his respects to both. But the presence of another man, Chinese Premier Hua Guofeng, changed the presidential trip from a duty call into a diplomatic mission. Carter met Hua at a reception of the sort that often follows Japanese funerals. Later on Japanese television, Carter said the new U.S. relationship with China will contribute to stability in Asia and more.
We also see it as a means by which we can share our long-range strategic concerns to minimize the threat of the Soviet military buildup.
The president said he meant only joint pressure on Moscow, not military cooperation between Washington and Peking. Then he met with Hua Guofeng for more than an hour. It was Carter's last act in an overnight trip that included the funeral of one friend and a short summit meeting with another. Jim Upshaw, NBC News, Tokyo.
Members of the Republican Platform Committee meeting in Detroit remained sharply divided today on language supporting equal rights for women. The committee grudgingly softened its proposed plank opposing the Equal Rights Amendment, but supporters of ERA considered their battle had been lost. The committee approved language that would endorse women's rights, but not specifically the constitutional amendment. Two of the world's largest automakers are discussing the possibility of a joint venture. Ford and Toyota announced today they may get together to build small cars at plants in the United States. Both companies deny, however, that an agreement has already been reached. Scott?
Police in Linden, New Jersey say an Amtrak train traveling from New York to Philadelphia jumped the tracks and sideswiped a work train earlier this evening. One passenger is reported dead, 6 to 8 others said to be injured. Pope John Paul's visit to Brazil was marred by tragedy today. Pilgrims waiting to see the Pope mobbed a soccer stadium, and at least 3 women were trampled to death. A dozen other people were injured in the crush some 6 hours before the Pope was scheduled to arrive at the northeastern Brazilian city of Fortaleza. Later in the day, the Pope asked a crowd of some 200,000 to pray for the souls of the victims.
Some time ago, we reported from the News Center that a Brevard County high school teacher, Raymond Brooks, was fired for allegedly advocating the use of marijuana to students. Well, now it seems the Brevard County School Board will be spending $25,000 to investigate that firing. Brooks has always denied any wrongdoing. Brevard correspondent Rob Zaya has that story.
The ball is now in the Brevard School Board's court. What to do about Raymond Brooks, a Cocoa Beach High School teacher whom the board fired. The issues were whether or not Brooks advocated the use of marijuana during classroom discussions, whether he told students how to increase the drug's potency, and whether he stood as a lookout while students smoked pot. The catch is that the board never filed any charges against Brooks. That was done by the state's Professional Practices Council, which was informed of the controversy by Brevard School Superintendent Robert Blubaugh. And although the state cabinet at first revoked Brooks' teaching certificate, the state later reversed its decision and exonerated Brooks.
The State Board of Education eventually ruled that the charges against Brooks were frivolous and unsubstantiated, and said it made a mistake in lifting Brooks' teaching certificate.
The problem for Brooks is that the Brevard School Board has yet to reverse itself, and that, according to Gene Armstrong of the Brevard Federation of Teachers, is a cop-out.
The school board's charge against Ray Brooks was that he didn't have a certificate, and that's what they fired him for, without granting him a hearing over the extenuating circumstances. Since that time, Ray Brooks not only has a certificate back, but the body that took it away initially said that that was wrong, that they had made a mistake. And all the man wants is his job back. He should have his job back, and he should be put back to work with back pay. And apparently the school board is seeking to fight that.
Brooks was not available for comment. School officials say a lot of legal issues still must be resolved. Rob Zaya, NewsCenter-2, Rockledge.
Note on that story, the amount of money the Brevard School Board will be spending is estimated to be $2,500, not $25,000. Dave Marsh will have the weather next from NewsCenter-2.
Before roller coasters flipped people upside down, killer whales were doing it all by themselves. Before humans learned to walk, dolphins performed ballets in the sea. And before man built scary rides in dark places, sharks headed down cold. There are lots of ways to have fun in Florida, but if you miss SeaWorld, you miss the biggest thrill of all, life. SeaWorld, Florida's real-life adventure.
Every drop of higher octane Amoco premium lead-free gasoline is specially made to help you get good mileage. At Amoco Research, extensive engine testing confirmed that the higher octane of Amoco premium lead-free could help deliver better mileage by stopping, knock, or run-on without detuning car engines. Amoco technology continues to deliver benefits like these in the lead-free gasoline you buy today. You expect more from a leader.
E is for the energy she gives us.
L is for the lovely things she does.
S is for the satisfying moments.
I is for the pure ingredients.
E is for everything she...
Elsie has always been America's symbol of goodness and quality. So when you taste any Borden product, you'll sing...
Put them all together, they spell Elsie, a word that means the world to us.
This man doesn't know it, but this card will win him $50,000 in McDonald's $6 million winning combination game.
Dad, aren't you gonna play?
I never win anything.
Please, Dad, for me?
Pick up your free game card at McDonald's. You can win up to $50,000 or a delicious food prize like a Big Mac sandwich or an icy cold Coca-Cola.
And hold on to your cards because each week new winning numbers will be posted. I won $50,000.
$50,000!
The man behind me is Dave Marsh. He's here to do the weather, which is what he does best. That's what they get to pay him for. David, it's hot outside.
Yes, and speaking of being in the box, no one's ever written a letter and say, how do they get you in that little bitty box there? It must be very tiny. But obviously, let's get back to the weather and stick to that and quit horsing around. It has been a hot day, and really it's becoming uncomfortable because it's been, well, for many, many days now. We don't expect any relief. There have been a few showers and thunderstorms bouncing around South Florida earlier today, and even one, well, we can call it in Central Florida today. It's over in Tampa, and that's not where we want it, but I'm sure the folks over there by Tampa anyway are enjoying it. The National Weather Service radar indicating this area of showers and thunderstorms is moving in a westerly direction. So what we're going to do is sector scan. First of all, find yourself. There's Daytona Beach running down I-4 to Orlando. Here's Tampa. We're going to look at that much closer. And we can see most of the action is really south and southeast of the big city of Tampa, and also St. Petersburg moving to the west, so it will be moving over Tampa Bay. So it's actually covering portions of southern Hillsborough, northern Manatee counties. Oh, it's around Sun City in that general area, Ruskin, and also thunderstorms embedded in that. So we'll separate the colors for you to show you the intensity of the storms right there. This is the severe weather, and the rest of it really is light rain. So it continues to move in a westerly direction, and that's all that's going on right now, folks, at least anywhere close to Central Florida. Now, what I have planted on the big map tonight, I thought this would give you a better idea of what's happening throughout the central part of the country. Now, this isn't something you see under a microscope in your biology lab. This is the area with 100-degree temperatures or higher. So you can see how large it is, and of course, it's been going on for several weeks now, and it will continue. Wichita now with around 15 days or so with 100-degree temperature, 17 to be exact, and their average over that same time period, average high temperature, 111 degrees for Wichita, Kansas. Also a small pocket, Southern California, southwestern portion of Arizona. They have temperatures 100 degrees or higher in that region, and also there have been temperatures, especially around Gila Bend, around 114 degrees for the national high temperature. So obviously it has been hot in this region of the country, and even close by in the morning, however, at Gunnison, Colorado, it was 42 degrees for the national low temperatures. Severe weather continues along a stationary front reaching from Virginia into the Midwest, and hard hit this evening West Virginia with high winds and tornadoes, trees, power lines, that type of thing blown down. That's the kind of damage reported so far. Earlier in the day, it was up around Toledo and Findlay, Ohio, but no reports of damages or injuries coming out of that region. Same thing should exist through tomorrow. Not much is going to change during the next 24-hour period. Current conditions, the pressure in Daytona Beach is steady at 30 and 1100s. The wind south at 3, the humidity 82%. And the high temperature today in Daytona Beach, 91. Orlando with a rising pressure, 30 and 1200s. The wind east-southeast at 8, the humidity 85%, the high in Orlando 96 degrees. By the way, that ties a record for Orlando on this particular date. Daytona Beach currently at 79, 81 in Orlando, Cocoa Beach at last report 86, Melbourne 85 degrees, and up in Gainesville right now it's 80 degrees. The forecast for tomorrow, sunny and hot, the lows in the mid-70s, highs again in the mid-90s, and the winds will be variable around 10 miles per hour. So obviously no relief, so you're just going to have to stick with it, and it won't be too long, hopefully, and we'll be out of this mess, but not at least for a couple of days. That's a look at the weather for now.
Thank you, David. Steve Talbot's here. Sports is next from NewsCenter-2.
No one knew where he came from. No one seemed to know his name, but that didn't matter, because he lived up to his claim. He was a tobacco-chewing workhorse of a man, yes he was. And his chew was the longer-lasting workhorse brand.
Workhorse chewing tobacco. It's got longer-lasting flavor for the hard-working man.
And his chew was the longer-lasting workhorse brand.
Sunshine and fun times, riding on the waves, laying back, relaxing, soaking up the day. Having fun, and having fun's for everyone. Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful way to spend the whole day. It's what you're hearing Florida for. Wet and wild, wet and wild, wet and wild.
NewsCenter-2 Sports is brought to you by great tasting Pabst Blue Ribbon, America's quality beer since 1844.
The spirit that goes into winning a blue ribbon goes into making one. Pabst Blue Ribbon.
How did they ever find us?
Because you, my dear, are a double agent. Pabst, America's Blue Ribbon beer since 1844.
Steve's here with sports, going to talk about football.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no truth to the rumor that I will be climbing to the top of Florida's tallest attraction to interview Ed Too Tall Jones tomorrow. Nope. The guy who crunches opposing quarterbacks finally came to his senses in Dallas today. Ed Too Tall Jones is back with the Cowboys. They're motioning to me. Do I have a microphone on? Listen, if you missed what I was saying, you probably didn't miss too much anyway, so we'll try it again. The guy who crunches opposing quarterbacks finally came to his senses in Dallas today. Ed Too Tall Jones is back with the Cowboys where he belongs and not in the ring where he definitely did not belong. Ed Too Tall Jones, as you can plainly see, never should have taken up boxing as a career, but the big guy did, giving up pro football for it last year.
Well, after fighting a year, I experienced a lot of personal problems, 3 family problems, and I decided to take off for a while, and after thinking about it, I felt that football was the best thing for me at this time.
So Jones returned to Dallas, signed with the Cowboys, but can you believe it? This giant among big men, as of this moment, no longer has a starting position.
Of course, Ed knows our situation with the Cowboys, and that's why he's prepared himself the way he has. Right now, he wouldn't step in as #1 left hand. John Dutton has that job, as all of our players had as they finished last year. And whether or not it's going to end up a competition at left end, or whether John's going to move into the tackle position, which everybody's now feels that he can move in and play well, we don't know at this time.
Well, the lights are out in Major League Baseball parks tonight. Of course, it's the last day of the All-Star break, but that's not to say we didn't have some good local baseball around these parts. That is in Florida, and specifically, I guess, up in North Carolina, too. Not really too good news for Orlando. They lost by 1 to Charlotte tonight. Daytona Beach and West Palm Beach are playing also tonight, but we don't have a score on them. And both of Florida's soccer teams saw action tonight. When it was all over, Fort Lauderdale had beaten Detroit 3-1, and Tampa Bay was a winner over San Jose 4-1. They're still locked up tighter than thieves in the Eastern Division. Happy to report Mike Schmidt and Larry Boa don't have illegal prescriptions for amphetamines. A Pennsylvania prosecutor found no evidence of that today after charges had been rumored to that effect yesterday. Going on the assumption that 2 heads are better than 1, the San Diego Padres named 2 guys to be general manager this afternoon. Field boss Jerry Coleman and Jack McKeon, both given part of that title. They've replaced the fired Bob Fontaine. And a big day for the guy with the tender tootsies tomorrow, Bill Walton, to be checked out by 5 doctors to see if they can find a way to keep Walton from breaking those expensive feet and continue playing in the sport of pro basketball. Tomorrow in Nashville, the start of the tournament all the ladies look forward to all year long. That's the U.S. Open, where the Heat this time around may play a major role, especially this time of year. And I'll tell you, I've sent John Pattison out on some strange stories, but I think the guy has really outdone himself on the latest. John has actually found a sport more frustrating than golf: Frisbee golf.
You got to have your shirt off, you got to play the win to win, and you got to have that good old beach Frisbee knowledge.
Can you believe it? That's right, Weekend Duffs. There's a new golf game to help you rip your hair out. Frisbee golf. Now, it's just like regular golf. Well, almost. Instead of pins, you might have a tree, a lamppost, or even a fire hydrant to shoot at. Now for the etiquette. Here's Frisbee golf's version of spikes. Taken off, not put on. And now on the tee, Tara Hancock. Oh, it's hooking. Oh, too bad. Tara, that'll cost you 1 shot. Let's give Cam LUSK a shot, the Gerald Ford of this course. Let's give him another try. Lauren Knutson is the man behind this course on UCF's campus. It's been open since April. The students love it, but there have been some problems.
Well, some of the problems we've had are getting the Frisbee stuck up in trees, getting it on top of buildings.
And there's no question you can get yourself into some pretty weird places.
No, they didn't.
Okay, that's the end of that story. That's the end of sports. Throw it back to Scott.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And we will be back with a look at Florida's tallest attraction next from NewsCenter-2.
Monster movie.
Forget the movie, Tom. Look what Florida National's doing.
The 1,000-in savings plan. Look, I just keep $1,000 in my savings account, and I get daily interest and free checking. I don't believe it.
Believe it.
And with free checking, I'll be saving money while I'm saving money. I don't believe it.
Believe it.
And the convenience of 1 monthly statement.
Why, it's the best banking idea in years.
I believe it.
I don't believe it.
Florida National.
Circus World presents the greatest day of your life, where your family can join the fun. Mom can learn to fly the trapeze. Dad can show off on the high wire. You can join the sideshow and have your face made up as a clown. Come join the family fun at Circus World, where you can participate and have the greatest day of your life.
GE National Sale Days are here with big savings on selected General Electric appliances.
Like this deluxe refrigerator that dispenses crushed ice or cubes through the door. This 6-cycle pot scrubber dishwasher that gets even pots and pans clean. This 30-inch electric range with an oven that cleans itself automatically. Or this washer with a permanent press cycle and matching 2-cycle dryer.
We bring good things to life.
Available at Carlin's Appliance Stores, Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach, and Port Orange.
Many of you out there are watching NewsCenter-2 for the first time tonight, and many others are seeing us clearly for the first time. It all happened shortly after 7:30 this evening at our transmitting site in Orange City.
The chairman of the board of Coles Communications, Marvin Watmore, the president of the company, John Haberlin, and station manager Johnny Evans' daughter, Becky, joined together to push the buttons that turned off the old and turned on the new. At that moment, our brand new 1,740-foot tower with its circular polarized antenna atop began broadcasting our signal throughout Central Florida. When that happened, many of you began to see us clearly for the first time, others for the first time ever. But it all really began months ago. After all, a 1,740-foot transmitting tower doesn't come in one piece. This one, as a matter of fact, came in 42,937 pieces, and they all had to be fitted together and hauled into place. But when the job was done, this is what we had. A tower that is taller than any other man-made structure in the world, weighing more than 765,000 pounds. And what does it all mean? Well, to you, the viewer, it means a clearer, crisper signal. It means our coverage area has been expanded to take in another 3,000 square miles and another 325,000 homes. The taller tower is responsible for the extra coverage area, but the clearer signal is made possible by something called circular polarization. WESH Chief Engineer Niall Hunt explains that.
Circular polarization is the radiation of a pattern from an antenna in both the vertical and the horizontal plane. The vector analysis of that is it produces a spiral effect. The spiraling information tends to create a higher voltage in a poor antenna system. I would expect really on a very good antenna system, the average viewer wouldn't see much difference. Rabbit ears, monopoles, or a poor receiving antenna system, the viewer should notice quite an improvement.
Circular polarization was developed by the space industry and was first used to transmit pictures back to Earth during the Apollo missions to the moon. It literally saturates the air with our signal and eliminates many forms of interference. Needless to say, everyone at Channel 2 is very happy with the final product.
I don't think there's any greater reward than to be part of an idea that's taken a long time in its genesis and to see it come to fruition. I think the reward is tremendous, and I don't mean in money alone. It's all the people involved and working with them.
Wayne, I just feel fantastic. It's hard to explain, but you've been here about as long as I have at Channel 2, and there hasn't been a day gone by that a good part of the staff has not been involved in trying to improve our technical service to Central Florida. So with tonight, with all the work behind us, and I hope all the glory ahead of us, I just can't express myself other than I'm as proud, as they say, as the peacock on NBC.
And so to those 3,000 square miles and 325,000 new homes, welcome to NewsCenter-2. We're glad to have you on board. I wonder how we look clearer.
You don't look any clearer to me. You look about the same. Thank you. It's very nice. We're glad to have it. That wraps up our late report tonight from NewsCenter-2. Thank you for joining us. Join John Hoffman, Rebecca Randall tomorrow morning for Today in Florida. Have a good evening.
Circus World presents the greatest day of your life, where your family can join the fun. Mom can learn to fly the trapeze.